Good morning, young men and women. Bishop Ramming, my friend Mr. Charles Major, and Ms. Bell from National Security, and the people from Urban Renewal, Mrs. Kemp. Good to be here this morning. A surprise for me because the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is responsible for ensuring that in our relations with other countries, the Bahamas remains at a level which does not cause us to have sanctions against our country because we do not have the proper protocols in place to avoid, prosecute, and find human traffickers. So it's called trafficking in persons, with the acronym is TIPS. And right now, in particular, we have a relationship with the United States which mandates if we fall below what they call Tier 1, it is possible for various sanctions to be imposed upon the country. So Foreign Affairs is intimately involved, working with the Ministry of National Security to ensure that the country's status is at a level that those sanctions do not befall us. Quite apart from that, though, a country that has a history of slavery needs to be very much aware of the promise made in the Constitution of the country. And if you read the preamble to the Constitution, it says that they were creating a democratic state called the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, where no man will be a bondsman, slave, or be involved in what they call involuntary servitude. So that means that your labor, your self as an individual, belongs to you and no one else. And it is immoral to try and sell people to one another or to keep people in a situation where they have to work against their will. Slavery in its ancient form was abolished in this country in 1834. And so those who founded our country in 1973 thought that it was fitting and appropriate to make a promise on behalf of the people who they were about to lead into independence, that so long as there was a free and democratic Commonwealth of the Bahamas, no one would be a slave. And no village should know that more than the village of Fox Hill, which was a village founded by free African slaves, freed slaves who were brought here from the high seas, taken off slavers, and settled here in New Providence. What I want to do, though, is on a personal level, is to urge you in this new atmosphere, an atmosphere which I did not have to deal with as a child, where it is possible for people to intrude on your private lives in ways that you may not be directly aware. And that's through the use of this telephone or your computer. It is possible for people to befriend you. It is possible for people to entrap you. It is possible for people to cause you to do things that you would not ordinarily do. And I think it is very important, therefore, to say to you that you must have a sense of your own personal self-worth and integrity, and never allow anyone to violate your personal space. Your personal space is sacrosanct and holy, and no one should be allowed to violate that space without your permission. So make that very clear at the start, whenever you have any kind of relationship or whether you interact with any persons, that your integrity, your personal integrity, is important to you. It's private, it's owned by you. Secondly, when I go around campaigning, one of the things I notice is the inability of people your age to manage dealing with strangers who come to the door. So I knock on the door, someone your age comes to the door, and they have the inability to manage the social relationship between a stranger at the door and to say, my parents are not at home, and to take a message which translates to your parents. Why is that important? So many times you will see these notices in the newspaper, and this is usually for smaller children. So-and-so is lost, doesn't know their name, doesn't know their mother and father's name, can't say where they live. And I can tell you that my parents, from the time we were little children, one of the first things we learned was what our parents' names were, our telephone number at home, and what our address was. So we always learned what our identity is, because your identity is very important. Parents gave you two names, your first name and your last name. And that connects you to the neighborhood you live in and to the parents you are. Now, these things may not seem to be important, but they all have to do with giving you a sense of self. And if you have a strong sense of self, no one can make you a slave. I say again, if you have a strong sense of self, no one can make you a slave. In the country which is 90 miles to the south of us, called the Republic of Haiti, this is a pervasive problem where, because of the economic situation, children are frequently sold to other people, and they work long hours of the day doing repetitive tasks. And the world says children should not be working, children should be children, and children should go to school. And that's what we want for you. In this country, you have to be in school up to the age of 16. And after that, you can make the decisions for yourself what you want to do going forward. But we want to avoid any situation where you have to go to war and fight wars, or you have to leave school and take care of your families. Now, there are a few exceptions, like being a packing boy or packing girl at the supermarket, but those are very restricted. Only a limited number of hours, and it has to be with the permission of your parents. But other than that, you should be going to school and not having to work. And you should never be in a situation where you can't escape from the place where you're working, or that you're trapped in someone's home and you can't leave. So, for example, if you have a passport, many of you may have a passport. I think I got mine in my pocket. This one here, this passport. This allows you to travel. One of the things you do is do not surrender that to anybody. Make sure you always have it and never surrender it, because one of the ways that people trap you is they grab your passport and they tell you you can't move because they have your passport. So guard this document if you get it, and make sure you do not surrender it to anyone. I mean, your parents, of course, being the exception. So I've talked to you about identity. I've talked to you about sense of self. What I want to say finally is always be self-aware, because things don't always come to you on a straight line. And train your mind to figure out when someone's leading you into a trap. So that's why parents used to say when we were small, do not talk to strangers. Well, you know, sometimes you have to talk to people that you don't know, but always know what the barriers are, what the boundaries are, and always protect yourself, your personal integrity, and your privacy. So I hope these words of encouragement will help you moving forward, not only today, but this seminar will also help you with life, because you're not always going to be in the Bahamas. You're going to go to other countries, and people are not going to be always talking in Bahamian English. They're going to be talking in different languages, and people come from different backgrounds. But always be self-aware, and remember, your personal integrity counts, your privacy counts. Thanks for listening so attentively. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk to people who are coming up. You'll be, within 10 years, the next generation of leaders of our country, and it's important for you to understand all of these things at this early stage. I have to leave to attend the funeral of a police officer who retired some time ago but made a great service to our country, by the name of Chief Inspector Mervyn Fines. He was 84 years old, so that tells you how long you can live. I said to the student who was right behind me to promise me she's going to live to be 90, and she said yes, she would. So I won't be around to see it, but I'm sure you'll make it. And I wish for you, all of you, to live to be 90 and have a good life in our Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you and blessings.